Hello, welcome to a special edition of the Outspoken Artist here at Imaging 2024. I am joined by my guest, Booray Perry.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm good.
Crazy. I know that you were in Tampa, but we didn't realize how close we lived to each other.
No, we live literally like within minutes of each other.
Yeah.
I didn't even know you were in Tampa.
Right.
I don't know. John Carlo is he from the Riviera? I don't know where it didn't occur to me to look. And then when you're like, oh, I'm just down the street from you.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. We probably shop at the same mall or the same Publix at least.
Well, there's a lot of Publix.
I know.
So there's one by your house and one right by my house. For those of you who don't know, that is Florida's grocery store.
Yeah.
And do not try and get between a Floridian and their Publix.
Yeah. Okay, this is not photography related, but we just got a Publix set up where what they did for their marketing, whatever shtick that they did, they got a gigantic shopping cart and they hoisted it to like a giant go-kart and they were driving it around State Road 54, directing people to the actual Publix. So that's what they're doing now.
Oh, that's great.
I'll have to show you a picture. I'll put it on the screen. It's ridiculous. But imaging. Tell me, Booray, what brought you to imaging?
Well, I've been coming here for 10, 12 years now. The first time you come to imaging, it was in Atlanta, and it was last minute, and people were going, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to go tomorrow. I'm going to go for a couple of days and check this thing out. And man, I came where I was like, that was the best thing ever. It was the most incredible experience I've ever had. And it prompted me to get more and more involved. And now it's like a giant family reunion for me. You know, you start out when you're coming to these things, you're coming because, I want to go see this person's class and learn this and learn that. And the trade show, there's no trade show anywhere in the industry that is better than the expo that we have here. Everyone's here. Giant booths for Canon, giant booths for, Fujifilm is here. Everybody's here. And so you come away inspired with new friends and networking, and it's wonderful. But then after like 10 years or so, it just becomes, I got to go see all of my friends. I got to go see all these people that I've met over the years. PPA and ImagingUSA absolutely changed my life.
How was that first imaging for you?
It was wonderful, and it was so eye-opening because I had a career in broadcasting before I was a photographer. So I'm like, I'm going to go see all these people, going to teach these classes, these speakers. And then I would go in there, and it would just be somebody who's got a photography business, who's a wedding photographer or whatever, and they would get up and then immediately start sharing all the secrets of their business. Their business side, their shooting side, their client interactions, everything. And you're just taking notes going, I hadn't thought of that, or that's better than what I do. But they were just photographers. They weren't like whatever. And immediately I was like, I can do that. So the next year I was a speaker, and like I said, ImagingUSA is like coming to a family reunion. You just don't think about not going. It's the highlight of your year.
It's crazy. I saw you be stopped multiple times, and people will stop me just saying hi. And it's crazy to think a lot of these people, you don't see them for an entire year.
Yeah, you don't. And I was telling somebody. I was telling my wife yesterday, the first night at imaging, everything starts on Sunday. But everybody comes in on Saturday. That night, that's the best night. Because, you were there last night. You go down the lobby of the Marriott, and there's 200 people in that lobby, and you know half of them.
Right.
And you're going to know another 20% before the night is over. Because this person's going to introduce you to that person. And the networking side of it just comes naturally. So you don't have to go into it with the idea that I'm going to network. You just meet people and you have a good time, and then you get back home, and a month later you get an email from somebody you met, and they said, hey, listen, I got a client that I'm doing headshots for, and they've got offices in your area, and they need somebody to go do 20 headshots. And you're like, oh, thank you.
Right.
I've got people all over the country that I know. I refer to them, and they refer to me, and it's just multiple avenues for your business and multiple avenues for your craft, and then a healthy dose of love.
Great way of putting it. I feel that my initial perception of photographers, maybe because of Facebook, is very dog-eat-dog. When I came here, it does not feel that way. Have you felt that same?
No, that everyone makes that mistake, and I did too. I remember when I joined my local association, the Tampa Area Photographers Association, you go in and you're like, okay, well, I'm meeting all these photographers that directly compete against me, right? In my market. I'm like, well, I just got to be careful that I don't tell them my secrets. There's no secrets. There's no secrets. Okay, we're not. This isn't a new thing. Photography has been around forever, and photography business has been around forever. You're not telling anybody anything. You're not revealing any secret about what you do, and you will if you just open up and and that's a perfect example. I can't tell you how much of my business I get now that comes directly from other photographers in my market.
Right.
You know, I've got 4 or 5 people who they need a second shooter. They call me. You know, I'm doing a 2-day convention where I've got to do blah blah blah, and I need somebody help. I've got 3 or 4 people I can instantly call that are professionals with their own business, and I know them because I joined my local association, because we're in the PPA, and I know their ability. And we all just help each other, and you know, it's the old rising tide lifts all boats.
Agreed.
Right. But it's really hard in the beginning because running a business is scary, you know. And it's really hard in the beginning to be like, just let that go and make friends. You'll get so much more value from the friends than you ever get from the isolation.
I would agree. Photography-wise, you're known for weddings, but you also do headshots.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about a time in your photography where you felt that you were right there, ready to give up, but obviously you didn't because you're here. Can you tell me about a time where, what that was and what got you through it?
Oh, man, so many times. I don't know that I've ever been ready to give up. I certainly have been ready. Yeah, that's a great question. I've never had a lot of doubts. Because it's not self-confidence, but it's photography is, I have this thing, there's artists and then there's craftsmen, right? I'm a craftsman. So an artist is a person that if you give them a piece of wood, they'll see something in that wood, and then they'll carve it away until you get something beautiful. They'll say, look, this is for you, and I made this. And a craftsman is a person that you give a piece of wood, and they go, oh, I need a doorknob, so I'm going to go look up a plan, and I'm going to make this doorknob and use this doorknob. They don't artistically approach it so much as they meticulously approach what you do next and how you do it. That's me. I don't have an original idea when it comes to photography in my head at all. All I have is, I like that, I can create it. Now I'm going to go learn to create it and then do it. And I have complete confidence in my ability to copy anything. If you've got access to YouTube, you can learn how to do anything.
Absolutely.
You know, and if you've got access to people who are teaching these classes and come to your guilds and teach, you can learn how to do anything. So I never really had any doubt that I could be a photographer. But the business side, that's a scary.
That's
hard. It can be a long slog.
I think really a lot of people come here for the business aspect of it because they got the talent, they got the marketing,
right?
But it's that selling and making a living out of it that a lot of people struggle with, and I feel imaging helps with that.
I feel like there's 2 things that you don't get enough of a lot of times in these conferences and so forth. One of them is the business side, and the other one is the retouching side. Because I think retouching is an area where a lot of people are just always convinced that they're not quite good at it, enough at it, and so they don't want to teach a class. Because they feel like they'll teach a class and people will be like, that's stupid, that's not how I do it. Because Photoshop is a bear.
Right.
You know, and so like I've never taught retouching because I know I don't do it as well or as effectively as the people who are really, really good at it. So I don't want to look like an idiot. But the best thing you can do is take the business classes. I can't tell you how many photographers I meet, and when I talk to them about their business, I'm like, okay, you're spending too much money here, and here. You know, you're not controlling your costs. You're not finding your clients. I mean, everybody has that. Oh, you know, the guys across town are doing, you know, I do weddings, and the guys across town are doing the weddings for half what I do. And I'm like, yeah, those clients that those people are getting are not your clients.
Right.
You know, and that was a really hard thing to learn. You know, and older people, no, not that much older, but when I first started, and they've been doing it longer, when they would talk about people contacting them, and they'd be like, well, this is what I charge. And they're like, oh, that's not good for me. I'm like, okay, fine. And I'm like, that would kill me. Anytime I lose a potential client, it kills me.
Right.
And it's only after years that you understand you're not going to catch every fish in the sea. You've got to let that go. You got to say, this is my work and this is what I'm worth, and then find the clients who are right for you.
Right, the ones that value.
Every question you've asked me, I've gone in some direction that's not at all an answer to your question.
Oh, we're having a conversation. That's what
I was going to say, well, welcome to a conversation with Booray. You're going to start here, and I'm going to end up here.
Oh, man, that's great. You mentioned retouching. You're here also for the competition, the international.
Yes, yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that experience of the International Photographic Competition.
Yeah, IPC, the International Photographic Competition. Wow, where to start? What do you want to know specifically before I go off on a rant?
What genres are usually covered? Who would be great to start putting their work in? What is the benefit of competing?
Okay, well, little backstory. It used to be that IPC was really a combination of two things happening at once. It was a degree program where you put your images in, they were judged by judges, and then they were given a score. And if your image scored over an 80, you would get a merit. And when you got enough merits, you would then receive a degree in whatever you were in. So if you were in the artist category, you would get the artist degree, and if you were in the photography category, you would get the master photographer's degree, and those were the only two degrees that you could get. And I'm wearing them around my neck. You're supposed to wear them. When you win one, you're supposed to wear them at all times, so that other people are supposed to see it as an invitation. You can walk up to anybody with this around their neck and ask them any question about photography, and they'll happily answer it for you. And so that was going on. But then also, the very best images that went in were pulled out for something called the Grand Imaging Awards. And so they would have a big thing here, a big giant, 1,000 photographers in the room or more, and they'd have these big awards. It was a big honor to win the GIA. So they separated the two of them last year. So now the degree program is its own thing. It's called Merit Image Review, and you can enter your images throughout the year and have them judged and try to get merits towards becoming a master photographer or a master artist or a master wedding photographer, which has just started a few years ago. And you can also take images and enter them into IPC, the International Photographic Competition. That is a straight-up contest now.
Okay.
It's not a learning opportunity. It's not a degree accreditation program. It's put your images in. We're gonna judge them, and the winner's gonna get $10,000.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So there's 16 categories. The categories change year to year depending on what kind of interest we get. There's bound to be a category that's for you. There's photojournalism, there's weddings, a couple of different wedding categories. There's portraits, there's babies, there's maternity, there's wildlife, there's landscape. So whatever you do, there's a category for you. And now the way it works is that you put your images, you enter your images, and then a panel of 15 different judges will score them. And then the top 32 scoring images come here to ImagingUSA, and they are scored live in head-to-head competition in a bracket. It's like the Final Four in basketball.
Okay.
And they are scored head-to-head all the way down until there's only 4 left in each category, the Final Four. And then on Monday night, in the giant awards ceremony where everybody's there, there's those categories, the Final Four, are scored down to the number one, the winner in each category. And when you make the final 32, those are medal rounds. So if you make the round of 32 and that's when you get knocked off, you're a bronze medalist. You get a pin for your lanyard. You're a bronze medalist. The next level is silver, then gold, then platinum. If you win the category, you're diamond. Once that happens, you get $1,000 and a trophy. And then the 16 diamonds, the ones for the winners of each category, they go head-to-head. And the winner of that is the Grand Imaging Award winner, and that person gets a bigger trophy and $10,000.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's a huge gala event. It's fun. You get to watch it in real time. I would have voted for that one. I would have voted for that. There's a panel of 5 judges that do the voting. And as an education thing, it's not designed to be an education, but it certainly is. I mean, if you make the final 30, in order to work hard enough to make the final 32, you're going to have to study photography. You're going to have to look at other images that have gone before you. You're going to have to send your work off to other people who are really good and say, what am I doing wrong here? And they're going to come back. There's nothing more valuable than having someone else look at your work.
Right.
I've had so many images that I was going to put into competition back when I could still compete. I can't do it now because I host. But I remember sending off a couple on the dance floor, a shot at a wedding. I was thinking about entering this one. I sent it off to someone I know, and she comes back and she goes, well, the dress is pink. And I'm like, oh my God, the dress is pink. How did I not notice the color cast on the dress from the uplights in the room? I just didn't see it.
Right.
And oh my God, I've got to go and fix that and make that. And other times they come back with, here's 3 or 4 things that you're not seeing. Because you don't see it. You're so close to your own work. And over time, as you do that, you will begin to see it. So I can't tell you how many times someone will show me a picture, not a professional, but an amateur. Look at this great picture I took of my kid, and in my head I'm like, yeah, the hand is wrong, the head's turned wrong, can't you see the shadow over the left eye, and the nose thing is wrong, and that leg should be bent, and a lot of this came from competing, and being forced. If you're going to be a ballroom dancer, you've got to learn the steps. And those steps happen to also make you an incredible photographer. Wow, that was a long answer.
What are you talking about? That's not a long answer.
Well, you have to remember, I've been selling this all day. Yesterday, I was basically selling image competition. So if you ask me about it, I have a whole spiel ready to go.
No, that's great, though. It's really a lot of good information. So I hope you all took notes, because I don't have a PowerPoint to give you.
I just want to say, by the way, kudos for you to setting up in the middle of the traffic at the biggest photography conference in the world. I mean, even I would not be like, I'm just going to sit up in the middle of this giant hall where everyone's going to walk for the next 3 days. And, it's not awkward at all to be sitting here having an interview while people...
While people stopping and inquiring.
Even the Today Show has glass.
Yeah. Nah, this is where we do it, right here. This is the spot. And we have, James Trapp's photo in the background. So you're hosting. You're hosting the IPC. Wonderful. Is this your first time, or have you done it before?
Well, IPC's never had a host before.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't something that was hosted.
Great host.
Yeah. Well, in the past, it was just they would pick the best images from IPC, which was the degree program and the merit program. They would pick the best images from IPC, and then they would get a panel of judges together, and they would pick this one's going to win best wildlife and blah, 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 and then they would give the awards away.
Okay.
So now, like I said, IPC is its own thing, and part of what they wanted to do with it was say, let's make it a spectacle, let's make it fun, instead of everything happening behind the scenes. And that's what we had yesterday, and it was fantastic, because I'm just a moderator. I'm the game show host.
Right.
You got the judges up there judging, and I'm just running the show, and it's fun, and the audience is cheering when they like your choices and booing when they don't, and it's much more interactive, and we're talking about doing things next year, because this is the first year, so it's going to be constant changes.
Right.
Like next year, we're hoping to have an app in place so that you can vote yourself in the audience.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. So then I can be like, okay, the judges picked this image, and let's see if the audience agreed with you. Yeah, and then we can bring up that percentage and find out what the audience picked.
That'd be neat.
And the other thing I want to do is, because it's all a bracket system, we want to create a bracket app so you can do your own selections, just like people who do it for basketball.
Like fantasy football.
Yeah, like you can do your own thing and be like, okay, who do I think is going to win this matchup, and who do I think is going to win this matchup, and who do I think is going to win it overall? And I'm not going to endorse this sort of thing, but if you think that I'm not going to get together with some friends and be like, okay, listen, everybody throws in $5, and the person who picks the winner is gets the thing, just for fun, because it's always a little bit more fun when you're like, that's not the one I picked. And I mean, even I did that this year. I went to the 32 finalists in each category and picked the one I thought, this is the one I would vote for.
Right.
And so as I've been hosting, I have been watching, and anytime one of mine went to head, the one I had picked went head to head and won, a little part of me was like, all right, that's my guy, that's my team, and that never existed before. Everything happened behind the scenes. You just found out who won.
Wow. I like it.
Imagine March Madness, and all you got to see was the trophy awards presentation at the end. You didn't get to see any of the basketball games.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a great improvement, making it a spectacle. It should be, because people come here once a year, make it a show. And I think having you as a host is clever, man. It's clever. Tell me about...
I have a reputation at PPA for being a person who can talk nonstop. That's why I got the job.
You did radio, and I think I read that you also did some comedy.
Let's see. I wrote a comic strip that was in college papers when I was young. And side note, this was interesting. We're moving, in the process of moving, so I was cleaning out. And every time you move, your box of stuff from your past that you keep gets smaller and smaller.
Yeah.
And I was going through the box that had all my old comic strip stuff in it. And this was the day before I took my daughter to tour college, USF, which is in our town, right? University of South Florida. And I'm going through, and I'm just flipping through, and I look, and there's a USF paper. And I was like, what? And I opened it. Yeah, I had a comic strip in the USF paper at one time.
I forgot what that was called.
I totally forgot. The Oracle.
The Oracle.
Yeah, and I totally forgot. And it was the day before I was taking my daughter to tour the campus. So that was really cool. But I did that for a while, and then, a smidgen of stand-up, and then I was in an improv troupe in Dallas that was basically the second city of Dallas. So I did, shows where you're on stage and you get stuff from the audience, and then you create scenes live, and that was great. And then I was a disc jockey for 20 years. I did a morning. I was a wild and wacky morning man. I was doing that for 20 years. So yeah, I did that for a long time. It's still, even now, if you ask me what I do, I'll say I'm a photographer, but I used to be a DJ. I was a DJ from 17 on. So in my heart, I'm always a DJ.
It's in there. It's in there. And you also were in a podcast with Gary Hughes, the
Yes.
Photobomb, which religiously I think you guys were posting. Practically.
We did a show a week for 9 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, for 9 years we did a show. We went out on top. The year that we decided to stop was our best year ever. And people are like, why are you stopping? And I'm like, well, first of all, the Beatles were only together for 7 years. So I think that, if we've done 9, which is more than the Beatles, it's more than enough. You don't need to be there forever.
Right.
And the other thing is you don't want to watch your popularity go down and down and down and then quit.
Right.
You want to quit when people are going, why are you quitting?
Agreed.
Not when people go, oh, you still doing that?
It makes reunions even nicer too if you end up doing it again.
Yeah.
Wink,
And you're not the first person. We've had who's mentioned that. We have several people. We still get people all the time. They go, why don't you guys just do like a once a year thing or something? And it may happen.
Don't be surprised if next imaging I try to get you both.
Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah. Well, listen. If you think I talk, if you get us both, you won't get to talk at all.
It'll be like an hour.
Yeah.
I'll just stand and nod.
Yeah, exactly. You ask us one question, and then we'll be off. We'll be running, and you'll be done. But it was a lot of fun, and again, even more people that I met and got to interact with, and most of them here,
right,
at ImagingUSA. It's really impossible for people to understand who don't come here. It's impossible for them to understand how much it can change your life.
It can. You have to put yourself out there.
Yes.
You got to do that.
First time I came here, I was alone, and I would go to a bar area or whatever, and people would drink and whatever, and I would just walk up to a group of photographers and go, "Hey, my name's Booray. I'm from Tampa. Where are you from?" And and put myself out there, and that's how it started.
Right. And they give you these badges that tell people where you're from, your name and whatnot, so it makes it easy for you to say their name.
Yeah, it's amazingly friendly. Oh, there goes Larry. Larry. And Nancy, and there's been 8 people walk by that I have to say hello to since we started.
They didn't see you because you're tucked
No,
in.
because they were walking the other way. Oh, also, I frequently avoided.
What is a piece of advice that you can give to someone who's on the edge of maybe I should go to imaging, maybe I shouldn't? What is one piece of advice that you can give them to come?
The best thing I can say is I'm not a joiner. I'm not a joiner at all. I don't look at a group or whatever and be like, I want to be part of them. I want to be in them. I want to be whatever. I'm not a joiner, and I came reluctantly, and I'm here for life. I love the association. I love PPA. I love all the people I know here. And if I can feel that way about something, when I'm just naturally not a person who joins, then imagine how you're going to feel about it if you're at all a person who likes to be part of something. I'm the guy who doesn't necessarily want to go to the family reunion. Too much trouble, blah, blah, blah. But ImagingUSA? No. I'm going to ImagingUSA. I'm going every year.
I'm at that stage too. Second year in, I'm looking forward to next year.
Yeah, and this year, you met me, and
Yeah.
gosh, you probably met a dozen people last night. And next year, you'll see those dozen people. It'll be great, and each one of them will introduce you to somebody else.
Yeah, and it keeps growing.
And then
and
the
growing.
connection, and I'm older than you, and as you're getting older, the older you get, the more you really realize the value of people in your life. Education is so valuable. There's two sides of it with PPA and with ImagingUSA, and most people, when they always want to talk about the education and your business, and that's great. But the thing I always lead with is family, is fellowship. There was a book years ago called Bowling for One, and it was about the breakdown of social groups in America. And after World War II, here we go. You want to take a break while I talk? After World War II, everyone came back. All the soldiers came home, and they had been in the military, where the military has 1 million clubs because they want to keep everybody busy so they don't get into trouble. So they came home, and they joined the Elks Lodge and the Moose Lodge and the Masons, and they joined all of that. And if you watched TV back then, this is before your time, Fred Flintstone was in the Buffalo Lodge. And,
I remember that.
And Ralph Cramden was in the Beavers or whatever. And it was just normal to be involved in some group where you went once a week or once a month, and y'all would do charity work, or you would have potlucks or whatever. It was just normal to get yourself out there and to join a bowling league, And then now we're at a generation where people are just like, well, I'm in groups on Facebook. They don't get together face to face. And a guy did a study of towns in America, and he was trying to figure out what is it about a town that determines your ability to move from one caste to another. Like, you're a poor person and you want to move up to be more successful. What is it about the town that will help you do that? Why is it easier in some towns and not so easy in others? And he discovered that this isn't the reason, but it's an indicator. The number of bowling alleys in a town is an indicator of how hard it is to climb the ladder. The more bowling alleys, the easier it is for you to climb the ladder in that town. And the reason is because bowling is a social thing. And if you get involved, you will meet all these other people from the town. And the next thing you know, you're on a bowling league with the guy who is the president of the bank. And you get and you get that bank account, from him, or you whatever. And so people coming together, that provides you with, and now we call it networking, but it's also friendship, which gives you the support you need to enrich yourself. And really, ImagingUSA, for me, that's the primary thing. They don't sell it that way. They sell it for the education and everything, which is all true.
Right.
But underneath it all is a river of networking and friendship and family that lasts long after you've learned how to use off-camera lighting. Long after you've learned the trade. You walk through these halls, and I see people who are here every year who have forgotten more about photography than I'll ever learn. There's no reason for them to come here and learn something. They know it all, but they're here every year.
It's that fellowship that you're talking about.
But it's the fellowship and the networking, and yeah. So that's what I always talk about with ImagingUSA. PPA is my family. When I'm on stage with 3,000 photographers in the room on Monday night, those are my people. Yeah. I'm not performing for a crowd or whatever. Those are my people. Trish, there's Trish.
Yeah, somebody waved hi too, which...
Yeah, and this is your second year. By your fifth year...
I'll be like you, stuck over there for 45 minutes chatting it up.
Yeah, you saw that. Like, just trying to get to the trade show took me an hour, and it was one hallway. I walked in the trade show. When I walked in, I saw a friend of mine still on the board of directors, and I was like, "Oh, hey, how are you?" She's talking to somebody. I go, "Hey, I'll catch up later." And I walked through the whole trade show. I walked out. She's in the same spot talking to another group of people.
Go figure.
Yeah, because that's what it is.
Go figure.
Yeah.
Last thing, what is a quote that you live by, you stand by, that gets you through, life? What is something you would share with the audience?
You couldn't send me these questions in advance, so I could have thought of a good one. There's a lot of them, but my quotes are rarely, the things that I remember are rarely like about success, or stuff like that. I'm not a hang in there baby. My things are more about self stuff. I'm not a quote keeper, but I do have a couple in my phone that I've written down. I can't remember. That's why they're in my phone.
Oh, okay. You're like me.
I like the one I've always loved is Maya Angelou's. When people tell you who they are, believe them.
That's a good one.
When people tell you who they show you who they are, believe them. Like, okay, you've told me, I get where you are. Just believe it and move on. Don't clutter your life with. And what's the other one? About I can't remember what it is now, but it's something about bitterness is just killing yourself. You got to let go. You've got to let go of stuff. So stuff I tend to remember is more stuff like that. I don't have any great guru wisdom, and part of the problem is because, in terms of photography, I will tell you this: that the most valuable tool you can have in anything, I don't care what you do, I don't care what art you're in, the most valuable tool you can have is self-confidence. And if you don't have that, just fake it, and eventually you will. Believe that you can do whatever you want to do. When I had my children, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to be a father, and I hope I'm going to be a good one, and what am I possibly going to teach them? The one primary thing I've always stuck to is, if my children can grow up believing that they can do anything that they really want to do, I've succeeded. And because I was fortunate enough to grow up that way. So when I was 18, I was like, I could be a doctor. I don't want to be a doctor because I'm too lazy. But I could be if I wanted to. I know I could do it if I applied myself. Right. And you meet so many people who are just like, I'm just so scared. I don't think I can do that thing. Yes, you can. You can do anything. You got YouTube is out there. You can learn to do anything. And I feel so bad when I meet people who just don't have the self-confidence in themselves. It's not arrogance. It's just, I believe that of every person that I meet. When people come up to me and they go, I could never do what you do. Yes, you could. There's nothing special about me. I wasn't the host of IPC right out of the gate. Yeah. And if you wanted to do it, spend a year, you'll be able to do what I do. You know, I could do what you do if I wanted to spend the time to learn it. And artistically, work-related, it doesn't matter. There's nothing you can't do if you just sit down and open the book.
Right.
Meet somebody who can help you. Get a mentor. You know, and I don't believe anyone is special.
Thanks.
But as a result, I believe everyone is special.
Good point.
You know what I mean? That's my point. Everybody is just a lump of clay.
Yeah, and they got to believe in themselves. That's the key.
You
part.
do. You really do. And not from a quote on your wall way, but just from everyone's that way. They don't know it, they don't believe it, but they are.
Yeah.
You know, there's nothing I couldn't do. There's nothing you couldn't do. There's nothing anyone here couldn't do.
Right.
You know, nobody's that special. Oh, here's my favorite quote.
Okay.
100 years from now, all new people.
That's true.
So don't spend your time worrying about how many likes you got on Facebook or how popular you may be or whatever. Because 100 years from now, every person you meet, every person you see is gone. You know, don't spend your time worrying about the superficial stuff. Just find what you love, do it, and derive your love of life from that, not from the approval of other people. I was talking last night to somebody who's just written a book, and she's worried to death that it's not going to be popular enough. And I'm like, no, you got to do it because you love it and not care if they love it or not, but do it because the satisfaction of doing it. I have a YouTube channel, and there's so much I could do to make it more popular, but I don't care. I don't do it to be popular. I do it because I want to talk about this thing, so I'm going to go do it.
That's great.
Why did you start this?
I started this, ironically enough, because of imaging.
Really?
I came to imaging last year, Nashville, by myself.
It's a little intimidating when you're by yourself.
It is. I didn't know anybody. I went to a pre-con class. Highly recommend it. And that was Gary's class.
Oh, sure. Gary did my podcast with me.
And in that class, I happened to sit next to this gentleman, Jeff, great guy from Alabama, friendly, talked. He talked. From meeting him, I met his friend. From meeting his friend, I ended up meeting Gary. And from there, met somebody else. And I kind of started hanging out with them. Then I got introduced to more people, and met a photographer at the gym. It was a whole trickle-down effect of meeting wonderful people that took away that perception that there's a dog-eat-dog type of world amongst photographers. When I left, I ended up meeting a bunch of different people, and I thought to myself, I want to showcase people.
Yeah.
And it's not about me. It's about people out there that are putting out great information, great energy. Kiati's over there. Then I'm going to be talking to him later. Great guy, and one of the people that I met at Imaging. And because of that, I took a leap. It took me 3 years to get on YouTube. I talked to myself, 2020, I'm going to put something on YouTube. 2023 is when I actually press record. And it was because of that, because of the people that I met. And I just wanted to showcase because I thought they were great. And if somebody watches my video, great. If they don't, they don't.
That's the only way to go about it.
Yeah.
You know, your people will find you. I had something happen here hey, and that's I had something happen to me just before I came here to do this. Well, first of all, when I was a disc jockey, I spent my whole career trying to please my program director. And then towards the end of my career, when I was doing mornings, he's like, you know, we're going to take you off mornings. We're going to put somebody else on. And I'm like, but I've done everything you asked me to do. He's like, I think that this guy will be better. Okay. Well, they got into negotiations with the guy and everything, and it wasn't going well. And during this time, I'm still doing my show. So I'm doing my show for 3 months. But now I know they're taking me off the air, so I'm going to have a good time and just do what I want to do. And by the end of the 3 months, he was talking to me about staying in the position. And that was when I realized my problem is I've been trying to be the person everyone else wants me to be, instead of being the person that I like. Be yourself. There are other people who are like you and like that sort of thing, and they will find you.
Yeah.
Those are the people you want.
Agreed.
You know, I see YouTube channels that have more followers than me or whatever, subs, but the people who will comment, they comment at the guy who's on the video.
Yeah.
You know, like he's doing, and I'm just commenting at him. The people that comment on my videos comment like they're friends of mine, and like I talk to them, and it's just they're more personal to me, and I'm like, those are the people. That's why I do this, you know. Not, you know, It's hard to describe, but that's been my mantra. When Gary and I did our podcast, I said I'll do it under one condition, and that is we never do anything on the podcast because we think it will make us more popular. We just do what we want to do and have fun with. So we had guests in the beginning. God bless you for having guests, because it's hard. We had guests in the beginning, and then I told Gary, and I was like, when I listen to the podcast, the guest part's the part I don't like. I mean, it's not that I don't like it, but I'm interested in listening to when we're talking. That's what's fun. And then also, we would come here, and people would stop us and say, oh, man, I love your podcast. And no one ever said, I loved it when you had blank on the air.
Right.
They always said, oh, when the two of you were talking about this, or the two of you were talking about that. And finally, we were like, no more guests. It's just going to be the two of us. And because there are people who like that, and we like doing it, so that's what we're going to do. You know, and if you take that into every area of your life, you'd be amazing at how much of the chaff just goes away.
I agree.
You know, you stop thinking about that stuff.
Yeah,
like, it shouldn't have taken you 3 years.
It shouldn't have.
It's YouTube. People on YouTube would come at me and go, you know, your channel should have better lighting or whatever. And I'm like, there's no like law of YouTube. you can just take your phone and take a thing.
There's a lot of critics. There's always going to be
there's
critics.
always the critics, and I was like, I'm sorry, but there's no rule. You can do whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
You know, you can have 5 followers. It doesn't matter. Just enjoy yourself.
Yeah, I agree. Last thing, where can people find you, Booray?
Just Google Booray Perry, and the whole page is me. You know, Booray on YouTube, Booray Perry, on Instagram, Booray Perry, BoorayPerry.com. Yeah, there's only one of me, and which the best. My wife always says the best marketing tool I ever had was this stupid name Booray, because there's just not enough of us, and so I don't have to compete against anybody. So if you're looking for me, you're going to find me instantly. The best places would be my group on Facebook called Pro Photo Talk with Booray Perry. So join that and follow me on Instagram and my YouTube channel.
Awesome. Well, Booray, thank you for joining me. It's been a blast. And
I'm sorry that I didn't talk as much as usual because I'm tired.
Well, this was great.
All right.
Well, thank you. If you want to follow Booray, I'll put everything on the page. That way you know how to spell it. And outside of that, thank you for coming, man.
Hey, it was my pleasure. And by the way, you're crazy for having me be first.
Yeah, it didn't work out. You were supposed to be third, but
yeah.
you were my first one.
I was hoping to come early and watch someone else do it and get the feels for it. And you're like, you're first. And I'm like, I have no idea what we're doing. But I'm there.
It's all good. All right. Appreciate it. Thank you.